taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Biz Chat. We are about launching you into your God-sized dreams. Hello. I am your coach, Michelle. Over there is retired financial planner Jodi Gambini. Because hey, woo! I feel like we need like crowd noise coming at you. Today is Friday, April 22nd. I cannot believe we are already through so much of this month. It's been my month of rest. My team has been so amazing to step in and let me rest this month. It's been a long haul of just doing what God had led. I think I told the viewers on your channel, Jodi, I felt like I've been on rapids, and now he's shifting me to this other stream, and I'm not exactly sure what to do with it. So I am navigating new waters, and so grateful for our team helping me just process what God is saying. Chat time today. We like to do highs and lows. I see you got your coffee.
That's a high.
It's true. There's days I wander around and I still haven't made my coffee, and I've started because I have a process. And that's like 11 o'clock, and I have to turn the warmer back on.
Hence why this coffee cup is not really cute. It actually kind of matches, but this was not on purpose. But it's got that insulated, and I don't even have the lid anymore. But I guess that would be my high. Is this was clean, so my coffee will stay warm for the next. Because it's just 7 here on Pacific Coast time.
You're earlier than I am. My husband had to come wake me up. I had a rough night of sleep, and my alarms kept going off. And then apparently I just didn't get up. He's like, "Good morning, your show's coming." Jodi, you would have been here all by yourself to do the show. Coach Noelle is actually on her way to pick up her son, who they got a call from school, is not well. Very not well. So we can be in prayer for Coach Noelle as she's on the road right now. But yeah, highs and lows, Jodi. We like to let people know this entrepreneurial journey is not all sunshine and roses. We are standing with you. We want you to know that we can all come together and share kind of the victories together.
Oh, well, I got so yeah, like my coffee is just the necessary. So I guess I got to give the low before I give the high, because it won't. So actually, Michelle was on, and Noelle was a guest yesterday on Springing in to Breakthrough Experience. And I do these like every 6 months or so. And really, this one was God said do it, and it was to celebrate my launch of my kind of updated website and my retirement and kind of the new season. All fab until Thursday, when all of a sudden I can't get into my Zoom nowhere. Friday, Saturday, it's just disappeared. They have to reset. Been dealing with this all week. Well, by the way, I'd already done the link for everybody to sign up. It had the Zoom. Long story short, a client of mine, basically, we did not realize, by me giving permission to host something back in October, they were pulling me off to not host, and it took my whole entire profile down. Then they tried to get me back on. So this has been a dance in the midst of springing into breakthrough. The high is that we still got it done anyway.
You did. It rocked. I was like so honored to be a part of that. It was truly God inspired. So
it was very talk about rapids and rest. I'm like, I've been resting in a little different way, because I am taking a break from a couple of things, which obviously God knew, because let me tell you, it's taken every bit. But I feel like mine had been rapids, but God got through it. I was like, okay, it's just been rapids, but I had no guest. Like, I kind of did. I think you were the only person that I had talked to that I knew was going to possibly do it. And I had my friend Tina Tuesday. Everything was so crazy. And I guess the behind the scenes vulnerability, I would say, is I would love to tell you that that's the only time that's happened.
Yeah, right.
I would love to tell you that, but every time I normally step into something new, or this is like a transition and into a greater, God has reminded me, yeah, last year when you did this, because I launched onto Kajabi in a new program, my entire computer brain went down. We had to reestablish. I had to get a laptop and figure out how to use a laptop and go live literally 20 minutes before
Oh
the
my
first
word.
one happened.
You know,
So
I think that's such a key point. I hope you guys hear this. Like we were talking about on your show, just how we sometimes our mind immediately goes to, God, did I get it wrong?
yeah.
And why we go there instead of, oh yeah, now I get it. Like, of course, I'm taking new territory, and there's squatters in the land, and they don't want me coming in. And so our spiritual forces are at play. And so you were walking into those, and now we kind of have our eyes wide open that we sometimes walk into gates like we talked about. The gates of hell should not prevail. There are gates there that we have to push through, and you were pushing through a
Yes.
gate when this all took place. And I know I felt the same way this year, where there were some major hurdles as I was moving forward and taking territory. And that's why it feels so odd, I think, right now. But highs and lows, like high is I get a month of rest. Low is I don't know what to do with a month of rest. It's taken 20 days for me to unwind and figure out what God is like, back to our sweet, intimate relationship that we've always had. Like, I've just been so spun up, and so it's hard to be running and taking territory, but also finding this place of rest. So I think that, yeah, it's for me finding that balance of where's the rest, and where do we keep moving forward in the chaos and the confusion and pushing through. So thank you so much for sharing your highs and lows with us today. Guys, we want to move into the topic. We know you are excited about Finance Friday. Finance Friday. So, in our coaching group, we've been talking about impact. This month, we are all about impact, making sure you're very clear about the impact your business is supposed to make. If we're not clear about impact, then our messaging, our advertising, our products are all going to be a little muddled, and muddled doesn't make money. A muddled offer will not make money. So, getting this clarity and doing some exercises around impact is what we're into over in the coaching group. But one of the things we wanted to really highlight today with Jodi is that God wants to give us God-sized possibilities. Like, he gives us permission, but money gives us possibility. And we really can't do things without resources. We can't take the possibilities, the permission that God's given us, and make it happen without financial resources. And so today we really want to talk about the impact you are called to make in your business or your ministry, the impact and what resources they actually need, and why you may not feel like you can go after that, why you feel like you don't have permission to go make money, right, Jodi? So help our viewers understand what's going
Yeah.
on when God says you have permission, but the money's not there, and we don't really feel like we get to walk in that place because I don't know. Why don't we? Why are
So
we so
I've been in
timid?
that place for a long time, to be honest with you. I've, been in church my whole life. And um, so I think that there were some mindsets for me personally, because I just retired 25 years in the financial services, 17 as an advisor, and then part of it I moved into more entrepreneurial. But most of the time, for a long time, it was a paycheck and, the money that you were making. But I always felt like my job was to help support whatever the church's things were. And there was this kind of divide I
Mhm.
always saw in church. And I hope this isn't too, but this is what came to me as you were talking. is from the time I've been, and my dad was a businessman, and and my dad was probably kind of unusual, but he was actually asked to like sit on the board and the different things because the people that tithed well and supported the church, there was a almost probably too much authority they had in my opinion, because yes, we want to support our church, absolutely, but there's many things we want to support, and I think that for me, I felt like that was my role. So I started out in the corporate world. I was, sometimes not making money, sometimes making money, and then as I always felt like my job was to fund the things, and I got to just go do ministry when I moved in as a financial advisor, and I could now control my schedule. I thought like that was the is the high life, right? The high, the oh my gosh, like during the day, I get to go and feed the homeless. I get to go and do that. But in the last 7 years, God, and especially the last three, I've been hearing other prophets say this for a lot. And I'm like, what does that look like? Carrying wealth transfers. We have to be prepared in our heart for it, number one, because where I think that it gets confusing, Michelle, is the love of money. And so then if you have nice things, if you have certain things, it's almost interpreted that it's the love of money. And I'm not going to lie, I have seen it inside the church. So there is still that mindset of identity, false identity with getting money.
Right. And we have words like filthy rich or obscenely wealthy. And so it's just this huge, I feel like, burden to get out of this mindset over here that says money will always come with something naughty. And I can't be over here and be extremely wealthy and righteous. Like they can't coexist.
Yeah, and we were talking about this offline right before we came on, and I was like, why is that, God? Because I know that there's many people in the Bible. I don't think we quite got it that they were wealthy.
Right,
Based,
because it equated to fields and farms and the ability to tithe grain and bring goat offerings and sheep offering. Like we didn't realize if we would add up all the sheep they had or all the goats or cattle head or fields, like that would be incredibly wealthy. It's hard to think in those terms when you're reading the Bible. Like, oh, if I had a field like Moses or I had 5,000 sheep like David.
well, and Boaz, and Boaz, and they were even talking about Jesus. I heard somebody talk about this not too long ago, and there's not really a lot. Yes, he was a carpenter, but you never really heard about it being an issue everywhere he went. They weren't in poverty as they went into when he stepped into ministry.
Mhm.
You don't really hear about those things, and so I can look in my career and know that I have put a ceiling even on what would be acceptable to be. I've been an elder in church and different things, and so in my mind, and maybe I'm the only one, but I'm just being really
I doubt it, Jodi.
I'm being really transparent. I I can think back. It's only in the last couple of years that I'm like, God, get my heart ready. Get like strip me of any identity
Mhm.
that's not you. Because don't we want to be able to fund things and change the world? And
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but it takes finances. It
And
it
yeah, and you alluded to that the wealth transfer that many prophets are speaking of, that it's going from the wicked to the righteous, and there's a shift coming. There's a wealth transfer coming. And I know we need to prep for that. We're going to talk about that in a second. But part of what I feel like when I've just been kind of wrestling this out with God is the reason it's transferring is because he's taking those who have been sitting at the table, corrupt people sitting at the table while God's people are just eating the crumbs that fall. He's going to flip it, right? He's going to flip the table. We're going to be at the seat that we are supposed to be at, receiving the heir, the sonship heir, um, inheritance that an heir should get. But he's doing it because the people who are currently sitting there are corrupt. And so my prayer was, Lord, I can't have any partnership with unrighteousness, right? Like I can't have none, zip. Like it's all got to go. If there's any remnant of anything that I'm still hanging on to that isn't righteous, that doesn't love righteousness, like it's got to go, because that's kind of what's happening if we're shifting wealth from, if God's shifting wealth from the unrighteous to the righteous. Um, Not that that's why I'm doing it, but that's, I don't want any part of unrighteousness, because that's, those people are going down.
Exactly. And I think that that's where we want to be righteous, and somehow we take wealth, not the love of money. So
Mm-hmm.
and as I started hearing, and I would know, God just kept speaking it to me. I'd be like, why do you keep saying that, God? And it would challenge me. He's like, yeah, you need to be ready for wealth. Like, I think it's about two, I don't know why I was just going back to 2019 and thinking the end of that year and how fast, oh my gosh, it's been 2 years because of COVID. But literally, I think it was around that time where I was in that year and we were moving into a new decade, right? And it challenged me. But it's not like God needs us prepared. And I can just think so many times, Michelle, like when there was a time, and it was in 2008, and the economy had dived. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so God was providing for me, and even for me to be able, me and my husband to be able to support things. And I hid the fact, I actually even had to tell everybody that the reason why we had to buy a brand new Tahoe was because, and I didn't even like to say this, because if they know anything about taxes, they knew we had to make pretty good money if I needed to write $25,000 off. And you could write $25,000 off if you bought a new car, because I was self-employed. I was pulling up as people had lost their jobs, had different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I had shame in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like here, and I'd been faithful. I'd walked through those hard times. I'd stood in it. And honestly, I was thinking about this not too long ago, because that was probably that was like 12, 13 years ago. I I don't want to say I stopped working, because I definitely didn't, and I still made money, but I would always think small about it. Okay, I've got to give this money back. Okay, like there was an amount of money in my head that, yeah, over that's going to be like you said, naughty, filthy rich.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to look at me and think that I'm that person. But where is that coming from? And you and I were talking about this offline. One, obviously, is false humility, and
Mm-hmm.
it falls under pride. But as you were talking, a couple others, for me, I can only speak for me, it was the fear of man.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is everybody going to think? But I don't even think I fully thought of the fact that most people, and even the church I got to begin to support during that time, and it was the same church, but there was things that shifted. I was able to be part of some really amazing things because of it. But at that time, honestly, probably shrunk back a little. Like I remember when I did my goals, oh, okay, well, I made this now. Yeah, let's go that much more. Anything over that, you know, over 200, that's going to be too much. And this is just real. And that is not where I'm at this moment, because I want to make an impact. I want to make an impact in my world. One of my pastors, Lance and Lori, they've really helped with. So for like 5 years, I was under that. They're like world changers, wealth carriers. Like we to shift things. And so my mind has shifted, but I just wanted to be transparent that it has not always been that way.
Yeah, and even for a financial advisor who is like in it all the time to know. So I know this is something that so many of us have really struggled with, is that if been given permission by God to do something, to step in a new territory, am I capping it at a certain level of impact because somehow above that there is some sort of shame or naughtiness, or I just can't go that big. I can't dream that big. I can't. And one of the things, Jodi is coaching my husband and I right now. And she just told us to dream like a 10-year-old. And we used to look at each other like, what did we dream when we were 10 years old? Remember when you used to dream like, hey, what if my finger, I cut it off and it grew right back? And like, you just dream stupid, silly stuff. Like, it was just fun, silly. Like, there was no shame attached to it back then. And that's what we're trying to do again, is like, okay, dream big for impact with your business. Dream bigger. Take the cap off. You are not naughty for wanting a bigger impact, and you're not, there's nothing obscenely wealthy, something naughty about being wealthy. There's nothing obscene about it. There's nothing filthy about it. It is for greater impact for the kingdom. And if you're feeling something like that, Jodi, for me, like, I had to do a heart check. Lord, where's there anything unrighteous in me? If there's anything unrighteous where I would not use this according to your righteousness, or it would ruin me, then let's take care of that right now. So that's probably step number one. If we're talking about steps to prepare for a wealth transfer coming up, my biggest or step one would be, Lord, is there anything that I am partnering with, unrighteousness or corruption, that would hinder my use of being obscenely wealthy or filthy? Like, I just hate use words, but wealthy or rich, whatever you want to call it, being able to steward well much on earth.
Yeah.
What would be another step, as I know you've thought about it since 2019, to get ready for a wealth transfer, for the bigger possibilities that God has for us in our businesses? Other steps that God has kind of shown you are really pivotal to getting prepared so you can receive this wealth transfer, because we know it's about a bigger impact. We know that, right? We know. So maybe that is step two. What is your impact? Are you really clear about the impact that you're supposed to have? Because if you're not, then God doesn't want to entrust you with a large amount of resources, financial resources, right? If you're not clear what it's for. So getting clear on that. Maybe here I'm answering my own question, but I know you got more. So let's toss it back.
So there was a couple of things that were going through my head, even as you were saying that, for impact. And one, I don't even know if I fully realized it till just this moment. So obviously we all know, was in the financial world. I just retired. Stockbrokers. I feel like you need to also look at where you're at. And so there was no one up until the last year and a half, as I've partnered with Matt Wilson, that's a man of God. There was no example. They were Christians. Part of the reason I didn't want to make too much money was because the people that were at that level, I didn't want to do it the way they did it. And so I think that you got to be honest, where whatever territory you're taking over, I can promise you that there's the people at the top, and maybe in any of the people at the top, they've even inside the church said, well, that's just business. No, that's not the character of God. So maybe, like if it's lacking love, if it's lacking kindness, if it's lacking self-control. So I think that you have to be honest and ask God to show you. So I don't know if I fully had the revelation until just now on here, but one of my challenges was all the ones that made a lot of money, there was some corruption with it. So understanding that if your heart is right with God, there was probably some fear involved. So not only is there some false humility, do you feel like people will judge you, but the second is just getting, I think, having that vulnerable conversation with God, and it's going to be in layers. Just like today, I just got another little piece because we're having this talk. So I would encourage you to write it down and kind of ask him, okay, what territory am I supposed to take over in the where is my experience, and is there anyone that I can think of that I would want to be like? And if the answer is no, that's okay. It doesn't mean, I think one of my fears was that they would corrupt me.
Mm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, I love that you really want an example to set your, like, I want to do business like that person. And if you don't have somebody like that, yeah, your mind is going to go to all those people who have done it with corruption. And that scares us, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to end up there if I walk down this road of great wealth or great income and impact. So I love the idea that you pray for a mentor.
Yes.
Pray for, even if they're not directly mentoring you, just somebody you can observe so that you can watch how they do what they do, how they navigate the things that seem to trip other businesses, worldly businesses, or the worldly business mindset, that you can excuse certain behaviors in business because, well, it's just business, like you said. No, we're going to carry our righteousness and God's standard all the way up the business mountain, no matter how high it goes. And we want people ahead of us who are actually showing us the path, like, here's how you navigate that when this comes up and that
Yeah.
comes up, and still walk in integrity. So I love that. So we've said, hey, make sure that your heart is right, that you've really let God search your heart. Is there anything you're partnering with, corruption or unrighteousness? Find a mentor of some sort and make sure you know exactly what impact you're supposed to make so you can receive what God has for you, before you get this pile and don't know what to do with it, and then start spending it off here and there and not know exactly what God wanted you to do with it. Any last thoughts as we've
Yeah.
already hit
So
the half-hour mark? I can't
I
believe
know, I know. But this, I always said this popped in my head, but I think, first of all, it's so funny. I was
it pops in your
just,
head because you've got years and years and
yes,
decades of
but
finances.
some of this for me is um newer, who I have like, so pay attention to who God is bringing in your life, and no matter it, so inside the kingdom of God, that they have character. I'm not even talking the wealth part, but they have character, because the character, and that is a maturity, and that looks like something. And so in the last probably 7 years, more and more of that has come in my life, to where I've pressed into it. Where I remember even going, whether it is that you read books and do the studies, like a couple of the studies I did is Loving on Purpose with Danny Silk and the Whole Life Academy. And so he shares some stories, and you're like, it's from the town I grew up in. So the fact that I know that people talk very bad about this church on a regular basis, and they'll take money that could go to their church and could go to other things, and they don't even have it sometimes. Back in the day, they didn't even have it, but God told Bill Johnson to give it to another church, to be one of. And so it's the mindset of the generosity. It's the mindset, love my enemies well. That's a maturity. That's a character. So acknowledging that, because I have to say that I definitely have always had some people, but my span of those people, and as they come into my life, has really grown, as I was thinking about it, just as you said that.
I love that. So along with having a mentor, you're going to want to also just surround yourself with those type of people, those people with those characters, so you can spot it when it isn't right, right? You've got this
yeah,
new sort of shift in those. They say you become like your closest six people around you, right? So you want the people surrounding you and the people God's bringing into you really filter out who is the closest to you as you're marching forward into impact,
Yeah.
because having these people of integrity around you is really going to help build that hedge of protection, I think, so well. So Jodi, thanks so much for being with us today. Guys, I just want to remind you that if you are looking for coaching, Launch School opens June 1st. We will be doing short interviews for that. So if you're looking for a coach, we want to make sure you're a good fit first, and that we get you in the right place. So go ahead and find us at faithoverfearbizchicks.com/waitlisted to get on the email list for all the things coming up in June for the Launch School. If you missed the financial discussion in Atmosphere of Grace, you got to hop into Atmosphere of Grace. Coach Noelle blew it away this week with the content that normally people have to pay for. She gave away free in this group. It's a free group. All that content will stay up through the end of the month. It will come down for the free group, but those who are in our sorority, it will stay up forever. So if you're interested in the sorority, just put AOG sorority in the free group, and one of our team members will reach out to you and give you some more details about that. All right. If you know one person, just one person, you can share this broadcast today that will help them, that will serve them. We would be so honored if you'd share that with them. So thank you, Jodi, again for joining us for another episode of Biz Chat.